Today marks a major plot twist in the story of America and the United States of America. Back in 2016, in December, I shared with my husband in the kitchen right over there. I said, we are going to have the divided states of America. He's like, yeah, no, we won't. That'll never happen. And then I said, and you know what? We're also going to have a new constitution. He said, you can't have a new constitution. And I'm not dissing my husband here. I'm just saying, I was speaking boldly back then. I'm claircognizant. I was speaking boldly back then, but I let it go until I came back around and I was teaching an astrology class. And in that astrology class in 2019, I said the same thing. And here we are today in 2025. And right now, as I'm doing this, the filibuster is going on in the Senate. I have some things to share astrologically that might be really interesting to understand how we got to this point. There are 3 chapters that are leading us to this plot twist. The first starts with America. This is the chart for the full moon eclipse. It was on March 14th in 2025. There are a few things I want to point out here. The first is the eclipse is in our 3rd house in America. That is our connecting house. We want to connect. It's air. We want to talk. There is Saturn representing our obstacles so we can develop self-determination. There is our sun right next to that north node, which is our aspirations. And then we have the north node, which is a suggested path to put all this work together. And there we have Neptune in its final degree of Pisces. Opposite of that, we have the moon and we have the south node. In a full moon eclipse, the moon is behind the earth. So you just have, it's the sun, the earth, and the moon. So it's a completion step. The moon has finished its job with the light. It is going in the back, it is recharging, and it's going to come back around. This moon is right on top of America's Neptune. In addition, that Neptune is talking to America's Mars. And we know from the previous conversations about America's chart that Neptune and Mars in their positions make us kind of unrealistic about our power. It makes us delusional about our power to negotiate, to get what we need done. And remember, America is the you're not the boss of me chart, right? So we're just talking about the people. America's chart represents the people. The United States of America chart, the Constitution, represents our agreement as the people. The other thing I want you to note on here is the degree that Mars is in when this eclipse happens. Because when eclipses happen, that degree where the eclipse happens, when other planets reach that degree, it's a marker in that story. Next, one thing I wanted to mention. Mars went out of bounds in late December of 2024. It's coming back into bounds in April on the 7th. When a planet is out of bounds, it is out of the sun's scope. Without getting too technical, it just means that Mars is operating on its own. It's not following the agenda of the sun. It's following its own agenda. That's really important to understand about this eclipse and this energy. The first thing that I want you to note in this chart is that Pluto is on the ascendant of the United States of America. That ascendant is where the sun is coming up, so that's the worldview that you have. In the United States of America, we have an Aquarian worldview. Pluto is approaching that critical point of our chart. It's in Aquarius. Aquarius, remember, is the corporation or the cult. America, the United States of America, has a fixed air outlook on life. Aquarius is fixed air. It's your ideologies. These are things you believe so deeply you don't even question them. So what's happening when Pluto comes to our Aquarius in fixed air is we're going to be creating some windows. We have to open up the air, right? We have to see in, we have to see out. That's what Pluto's going to do. It's going to purge all those ideologies that aren't necessarily ours. It's going to purge the abuses of our Constitution, how it's purge its shadows. Something similar to remember, back in one of the presentations I did, talked about 9/11. On 9/11, if you remember, Pluto was on our ascendant in America's chart. We were getting a change in how we see things, right? But it was in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about the professor or the evangelist. And Sagittarius is a mutable sign. Sagittarius is about gaining information, a different outlook. It's a fire sign. It's your ideologies. So when you are doing Pluto work in a mutable sign, it's a little different in how it works, because it's going to shift and adapt a little bit more easily than a fixed sign like Aquarius. A fixed sign like Aquarius is going to fight to keep its box closed. That eclipse is happening in our first and second house, and it's also happening in the 8th house. But what it is triggering is Jupiter in our 5th house, that Jupiter-Mars connection. Again, a tie to our ideologies. In our 5th house, we are building and structuring our ideologies. Jupiter and Mars there are a very powerful force in a fire house, because Jupiter and Mars by nature are action-oriented. So this eclipse was very triggering for not just America's chart, but also the United States of America's chart, our Constitution. This new moon was attached to Neptune. Neptune takes 148 years to go around the wheel. So the last time Neptune was in Aries was 148 years ago. Coming from Pisces, Pisces is the healer or the Houdini. So for the past 14 years, we've been in Neptune, in Imagineering, the healer or the Houdini. Okay, so there's some deception opportunities there, or there's some very visionary qualities there. Well, now we're moving from the healer or the Houdini into Aries. Neptune in Aries is working on, are you self-empowered or is it self-effacing? Okay, so we're back at the You're Not the Boss of Me chart. This is America's chart. This represents us as the people. The first thing we want to see is there's that new moon in the 4th house. That new moon is generating a new view on emotional power. That's the 4th house. It's having a conversation with the planets in our 7th house, which is our diplomatic power. This is, again, as the people. How are we, the people, talking about our power to negotiate, to create solutions that work for you and me? Of course, there are going to be battles between that, right? But that's the general gist. And then we have Pluto on the South Node. This is important because Pluto in Aquarius is now approaching America's South Node. Recall from the last presentation I did, that South Node is where our process or our problems with capitalism begin. The greed, the hoarding. Now we have Pluto coming on America's South Node to address that idea of hoarding, capitalism out of control. We have this new moon creating some emotional power. It's triggering our 7th house dynamic of wanting diplomatic power and control, the urge to do that, the love of doing that, the visionary ideas that we have about how much power we can have with another. This new moon in the USA's chart, our Constitution, was in our 2nd house. And that had a direct conversation with our moon up in the 10th house. Our urge to be seen as a societal power. This is important going into what's going on today with the filibuster. So stick with me here. The next important aspect to look at is Saturn across from our Sun, Venus, and Mercury connection in that 7th house. Now we're looking at personal power in the 1st house versus our diplomatic power in the 7th house. We have a lot of power struggles going on right now in America's chart and then United States of America's chart. In addition, Pluto is back on that ascendant. Okay, so Pluto moves really, really slowly, and it's going to be around America's ascendant for quite a while. We are undergoing a transformation. We will be oh my God, the history books that will write about this time. And you are here for a reason. You are here to help in this time. So that Pluto coming on our ascendant is another powerful place. It's that personal power thing, just like Saturn is down there too. And there are other aspects to talk about, but these are the most important things to understand what's really going on. Again, in astrology, we don't need to predict, because as soon as we predict, we stop the process of free will. We don't go through the experience and change our consciousness. So let's not get caught up in trying to predict so we feel better, so we don't feel the pain as much. And I'm not saying we need to throw ourselves into the pain, but we are here for this reason, to change our consciousness, because when we do that, it has ripple effects throughout the rest of the world, throughout the universe. Okay, chapter 3 of this story, the final chapter, is today, the filibuster. Let's see what's happening in America's chart. In America's chart, you can see there's Pluto on that south node, perverted greed. We're dealing with that. We're purging it. If you listen to some of the speeches going on in this filibuster by Senator Whitehouse and others, greed is a, Elizabeth Warren too, right? Greed is a common topic. You can just feel America purging this stuff. I mean, we are putting it out on the table. Pluto, by the way, does not want things put out on the table. There's going to be a great amount of pushback to this, but still, we are putting it out on the table. Now, Jupiter goes into Gemini every 12 years or so, right? So we've gotten these aspects before in America's chart, but we have not gotten these aspects in a very, 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 very long time. While Neptune is in Aries and while Pluto is in Aquarius. It may not have ever happened before, because all the planets travel at different times. And this is why when you watch the sky, when you see the planets, it's the divine telling us, here's what's going on, but it's not giving you enough details to control it. The other thing to note in this chart is look at Mars. It's at that degree where we had the eclipse. And at the same time, it is on America's Mercury, talking. And remember, in America's chart, it's about building emotional security, saying what's on the heart and feeling safe doing it. It's about discussing those things that we don't really want to discuss. Well, here we have that important point of Mars moving to that exact eclipse point, and here we have the filibuster. Jupiter wants to expand your horizons. It's going to close a door because it wants to open a door. It's in Gemini. Gemini is saying, are you self-informed or are you being self-deceptive? There's Jupiter. It's talking to our 7th house dynamic. Again, that struggle that the United States of America has for exercising our diplomatic power, for doing all that negotiating stuff. Mine versus yours. How do we get along together? In addition, that same Jupiter is square the transiting nodes in Virgo and in Pisces. So it's asking, remember, Pisces is the healer or the Houdini, and Virgo is self-mastery or being selfless. And now here we have Jupiter getting loud, talking. Gemini loves to talk. And it's all about self-deception, or are you self-informed? This is the filibuster, right? But let's go to one more chart, and let's look at Cory Booker. The first thing I want to go to in this chart is Uranus down in the 4th house talking to Cory Booker's natal Mercury. He has wanted to talk for a while, but he's been gaining the confidence. Without going into Cory Booker's chart, there's some stuff there about not feeling confident about speaking up, just generally. But he is being moved by the universe. Remember, Uranus is a universal power. It's abrupt. You don't see it coming. It just comes in and says, whoa, change the game. It's awakening your consciousness. It's a kind of, it deals with the mental stuff, right? How we think. So it's going in there and it's changing how he feels. And it's been putting pressure on him for a while. In addition, what's been putting pressure on Cory's chart is Pluto on his natal ascendant in Aquarius. corporation, or the cult. These two universal pressure points have really been working with him to overcome some of his own restraint in how he's living his life, to feel confident to speak up, who to listen to. In addition, Uranus is opposite his natal Neptune. He's speaking about his visions. It's in his 10th house where he has or is seeking social power. But with Neptune in your 10th house, Neptune isn't necessarily an action planet. Again, it's a universal planet. It's not necessarily in our consciousness. So Cory Booker isn't really someone who's going out and saying, I want power, I need power. He's being taught to seek that power and to exercise that social power. And it's a tough game. Saturn is opposing his natal Pluto. So there's a dynamic there. There's a real power struggle that he's feeling about not to say certain things. And how's he going to be viewed? How is he going to be accepted? There's been a lot of criticism of Cory Booker. I get it. But I think he's been waiting for this time. He had to be pushed internally. He was dealing with his stuff to be able to do what he is doing today. So hats off to Cory Booker and the amount of work that he's put into this. But not just the amount of work, but the work that he has done as a soul here on this earth. There is so much to be admired in this man. This story is still unfolding. But rest assured, this plot twist is giving us a vision of what's coming. We're not supposed to read the chapters and understand all the details. That takes away our free will, and it takes away the work that we do as human beings of gaining consciousness, of doing all these little things that add up energetically to ripple out into our universe, to ripple out into our world. We will do small things, we will do big things. Today is a pretty big thing, and lots of people have been waiting on this. Saturn, the planet of obstacles to develop self-determination, is also about to move into Aries. Now, it's been in Pisces for the past 2.5 years, the Houdini or the healer. Neptune has been in that space, the Houdini or the healer, for the past 14 years. So we are coming out of a very kind of a passive kind of stage into a very active stage. Aries is about self-empowerment or self-effacement. So we're going to go through that range of lesson in all of this. We are here to do this, to not predict, okay? And I understand wanting to predict. I'm a fixed person as well, fixed sun. I got a lot of fixed stuff going on in me. And I got stuff on the right side of that chart where I want to have control. I want to exercise my will. But that's not the point of coming here to this world. The point of coming here to this world, one of many, is to exercise our will, our free will. And if we know what's going to happen, we get lazy. What's the point of being here, right? We get excited, we get mad, we get angry, we get sad, all of that stuff. That changes the way the universe works. We send ripple effects out into our universe. So let's not focus on predicting what's going to happen. I like to focus on the story that's being unfolded for us. I like to be able to read the story in the sky. With all this free will working in this world, it's pretty hard to predict. Most psychics have a really hard time predicting timelines. And time is a construct that we use here. It's really not that important in things. What is important is how emotion changes here on this world. But what I think Saturn and Neptune are going to do when they come together in Aries, because Saturn is going to give us obstacles to our self-empowerment. And Saturn and Neptune are going to be in their dance for quite a while. So this is not to be panicked. It's just to say we are going to discover new parts of ourselves. This is exciting. This is what makes the history books. We are going to do things we never thought before. Because what Aries also is a hero, or it represents the hero. We will become heroic. And that's not to be scary, okay? This isn't about fear-mongering. We will become heroic in the little things that we do. And we will recognize that the hero in life is in us, not in the leaders. This is what Pluto and Capricorn was all about. Us as a collective world challenging those leadership structures. Capricorn, lead with the heart, lead with the wallet. That's what Pluto and Capricorn was about. Now we're ready for the next stage. Fixed air. We're going to chisel out some windows in that cement block, and we're going to see what's inside there, and we're going to Pluto it. We're going to purge the stuff that we no longer need. And we're going to become at peace with it. It's not just about purging it. It's about looking at it. Raw, ugly stuff that we have to see. And we're going to change it. That's what we're about. Today was a sea change, a plot twist. And this is exciting. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.